morning and welcome to Home of the World's Worst Weather Live. My name is Ian Bailey. I am a meteorologist and education specialist, and I'm part of a crew of 6 observers that live and work here on the summit, taking hourly weather observations, putting out forecast products, and doing research from the top of New England. Thank you for joining me on this Tuesday morning. This is our forecast discussion day, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at some current summit conditions. We'll talk about a forecast for the next couple of days, and of course, if you guys have questions, feel free to post them in chat. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the broadcast, so we'll try to get to as many questions as we possibly can when we get to that point. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of our current summit conditions and what's happening outside right now. So as you guys can see, it's pretty calm outside compared to what it was yesterday when we were up in the 70 to 80 mile per hour range. We have now dropped down to 15 miles per hour, so substantially calmer compared to what is average for this time of year. Temperatures have been on the rise throughout the day, so we're hanging out in the low 20s, right around 22 degrees at this moment. And for conditions outside, we do have fog, as you'll see in just a moment. There were some smatterings of snow showers this morning, so we did see a little bit of snow. We do have this low pressure system that is on the way out, still rotating some moisture in, but those snow showers have since come to an end, and we are just sitting inside of the freezing fog at this moment. And since yesterday, we've seen another inch and 1.3 inches, almost an inch and a half of snow, and so we have seen pretty much the end of what this system was going to give us, at least for the foreseeable future. As far as our visibility is concerned, again, we're in the fog, so we can only really see about 1/16 of a mile at this point. So as you would expect with foggy conditions here on the summit, you can only really see most of the way across the observation deck with this thick fog sitting on top of us. And then taking a look at the auto-road vertical temperature profile, this comes from our mesonet, a series of weather stations that go from the top of the mountain all the way back down to the base. And there are some interesting things going on today. So if we're looking down, again, we don't have any information coming from our 1600 site right now, but down near the bottom at 2300 feet, you can see it is above freezing. So we are seeing temperatures around 35 degrees. And generally that's decreasing with height, but we do have a little bit of an inversion here. So there, at the mid-level of the mountain, we do see temperatures actually increasing with height and then decreasing once again once we start to get up here to the summit proper. So there does seem to be some warm air hanging out down in the mid-levels of the mountain that is working its way up. And it's kind of interesting to be able to check that out here from our mesonet. So these are the numbers for what's happening outside. Let's take a look at actually what's going on. We'll pull out our observation deck camera, and you can see there's still some snow on it from yesterday. We were seeing some pretty interesting snowy conditions outside that were plastering themselves on the window, but we can see a little bit through down onto the observation deck here again. So this camera looks from the weather tower down onto our deck, and you can see there is some snow covering on most of it. The A-frame does have some rime ice and snow that build up upon it, but really pretty calm outside. You can even see it looks like a little bit of blue sky right up there at the top. So we are expecting clearing conditions throughout the day as high pressure is starting to move in. So we're definitely on the calmer side of things, at least for the remainder of our shift. Bit of a drastic change compared to what we were seeing yesterday. So that's a look at what's going on the summit currently. So again, we are going to take a look at the forecast for the next couple of days. So I want to show you guys first what's going on in our satellite, and we're going to play our favorite game, Find the High and Low Pressure Systems. And so again, we're going to take a look at our satellite feed here. This is infrared satellite that is showing us cloud tops. So we're not looking at precipitation per se here. We're looking at really high and really cold clouds. So the closer you are to these reds and oranges, those are really high, well-developed and cold cloud tops. And then like the lighter greens into the blues, those are systems that are either developing or not terribly high up into the atmosphere. So let's go ahead and see if we can identify some areas of high and low pressure here on our map. And so the first thing we're going to do is look for areas of high pressure. So we're looking for relatively clear conditions and clockwise rotation on the map. So I can spot a couple of here. In particular, there's one down here in the southeast region of the United States. Currently, you can see a little bit of rotation coming through this section here. So we can spot one high pressure system going right through there. We also have a bit of clearing over here in the northern part of the Rockies. And so a little bit of rotation coming from the northwest part of the United States coming down and around. So we'll put our high pressure system marker there. All right, let's go ahead and identify some low pressure systems. Probably a bit easier if you're looking at the same feed that I am right now. So we do have this comma-like structure and some rotation right here with this big system that's been forming in the central plains going into the mid-Atlantic. So it definitely looks like a low pressure system right here. And even a little bit of rotation up here in the northern part, up here in like what we call Alberta, the Alberta Clipper section where we see low pressures form. So we would put one here as well. And then also there does seem to be a bit of a disturbance down here in the Texarkana, like Texas, Arkansas and Louisiana section of the country. We do see this well-developed cell down here, possibly some thunderstorms going on down in that neck of the woods. So there might be a low-level disturbance that's forming into a low pressure right in that section. So again, it's really cool to be able to utilize satellite in that sense. So we can see rotating cloud formations. We can see these comma-like structures for low pressures that are forming. And of course, we have the one from yesterday that dumped all of the snow back here. that is slowly progressing off to the northeast. This is the one that was responsible for the high winds and snow that we saw yesterday. So again, it's just kind of fascinating that we can identify these low pressure systems using things other than radar and surface maps, being able to use satellite in this case. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual surface maps as far as what's going on right now and what we're expecting for the next couple of days. And we're going to start off with our synoptic view here. So this is the national scale. This is where we're looking at big picture things and how they're going to play out over the next 2 days. And you can already see some of the areas where we've identified high and low pressure systems. So there's yesterday's low right here. Here's the one that's forming in the Central Plains moving into the Mid-Atlantic that we're going to be paying a lot of attention to for this forecast in particular. And then we've got high pressure back here, and you'll see in just a moment high pressure down here in the southeast part of the country. So these are the big pressure systems that are at play. We also have this disturbance that's over here in Texarkana again, so you'll watch for that low pressure to pop up in just a moment. But again, the big picture that we're paying attention to right now is over the northern and central plains with this low pressure right here is going to be progressing our way over the next 48 hours. Doesn't look like it's going to get terribly impressive, but it's going to get pretty big. So let's go ahead and step forward just a couple of hours here. So we're stepping into the evening hours tonight, so right around 7 p.m. And already we can see the low pressure that was moving from yesterday has already pretty much moved off and has been replaced by high pressure over here in the eastern part of the country. And here comes that low. It's already gotten much bigger over this 12-hour period, with its moisture plume pretty much stretching all the way down through the Central Plains down towards the Gulf. The high pressure as well is rotating moisture in through the Gulf onto land, as well as being picked up by this low pressure and ingested as part of the system. So you're going to see here as we step forward even further, we're going to get a pretty predominant comet shape, and the spread of moisture from this system is going to affect a pretty large portion of the United States. So let's step forward into tomorrow morning. So this is 8 a.m. Here we are. So here's the low. It's now made its way into the Great Lakes with plenty of moisture stretching all the way back down to Texas, all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And it's going to continuously ingest that moisture and act as the fuel source for the storm, which is going to allow it to reach a pretty prominent point of maturity even before it makes it into our neck of the woods. And you can even see on the backside here, high pressure has formed on the Rockies. So if you're out in this part of the country, you're going to see some pretty calm, clear, and stable conditions, while the latter east side of the country is going to be experiencing some rain, possibly even some storms and severe weather for the next couple of days, particularly down here in the southeast. You'll be watching for showers, thunderstorms, and some other sorts of severe weather coming in the next 24 to 48 hours. So let's step forward then into Wednesday evening, headed into Thursday, so you can see well-organized precipitation here in the southeast, as well as up here in the Great Lakes. So if you live in the Great Lakes region, it's not impossible for you to see some rain showers and thunderstorms headed Wednesday night into Thursday, as that low starts to make its way through. And conditions might even be a little bit windy in your neck of the woods. You might be seeing elevated wind speeds, as there will be jet maxes associated with this low, bumping up your wind speed totals as we go through. And again, down here watching is for showers and thunderstorms and severe weather in the southeast, at least overnight Wednesday into Thursday. And then we're going to step a little bit further into Thursday morning. And what you might have noticed is that the low back here has begun to occlude and split. So back here, Wednesday night into Thursday, it's basically reached the point of its maturity. It's starting to occlude, and overnight into Thursday morning, it actually splits. A new low pressure forms up here further to the north in Canada, and a new low pressure will form down here and kind of step off over the Appalachians into New England proper. So that's already happening by Thursday morning at 7 a.m., so we'll step even a little bit further in the Thursday afternoon. If you're down here along the southeast coastline, again, heavy rain showers and possibly some thunderstorms associated with that, and we'll be watching for this new low to form into Friday morning. So as we head into the weekend over here in the eastern part of the country, in New England especially, expect a lot of rain, maybe even some snow in the northern part if it gets a bit colder. That will be leading to a relatively wet start to the weekend as this low starts to work its way through and off to the northeast. So that's what's going on the synoptic scale. Let's go ahead and jump down to our neck of the woods in the mesoscale, taking a look at just New England, and we'll start off with precipitation and what that low is likely to do as we head into the beginning parts of this weekend. So this is as of this morning, so Thursday morning. You can see the low pressure that moved through yesterday on the backside of the system here. So it's still having a little bit of an effect. Again, it's still rotating moisture down in from the northeast. So we did see, again, that smattering of snow showers just a little bit ago that has since come to an end, and that will continue to move off, putting us in this region of high pressure. So we are expecting clear and stable conditions for today and even most of tomorrow, as the high pressure that's hanging just on the bottom of the screen down here kind of takes over the region and allows for clear and stable conditions. Again, still the possibility for some remnant moisture, maybe a few clouds. Again, partly cloudy conditions are expected overnight into tomorrow. And then we expect, at least for our shift change tomorrow, things to be pretty clear and calm. So again, the high pressure is pretty much dominant over us through most of the day on Wednesday, but you can now start to see, as we get into Wednesday morning, here comes the low that is situating over the Great Lakes with all of that moisture associated with it. You could even see Organized moisture down there in Indiana heading into the Ohio River Valley. Possibility for some showers and thunderstorms in that area as well. So we'll head into Wednesday afternoon here. Here is the central low. Look at all that moisture it's picking off of the Great Lakes and still ingesting from the Gulf of Mexico. So you can see these organized bands of precipitation, again, especially down in like West Virginia, Virginia, Kentucky. You guys will be watching for rain showers and thunderstorms with that. And then up here along the Great Lakes, definitely some organized showers and heavy precipitation. Up here in New England, still that high pressure still hanging off here to the northeast, still having an influence, but we will be watching for increased cloud cover over the course of the day as this high pressure is slowly shoved off, making way for the low pressure to move in. So we'll go ahead and step into Wednesday evening, headed into Thursday morning. So this is about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on Thursday morning. Now we can see this organized precipitation is starting to move into Pennsylvania and New York, leaving the Ohio River Valley. There's still plenty of moisture on the back here, so expect spotty rain showers for that neck of the woods for the rest of the day of Thursday. But the organized band starts to make its way into our neck of the woods by Thursday afternoon. So at least we're expecting the beginning of some possible snow showers overnight into Thursday morning, and then more organized precipitation making its way up here by Thursday afternoon. So we'll likely be back into the clouds with snow showers for Thursday. Winter still hasn't really let go of us just yet. So let's go ahead and take a look at some temperatures as well, because temperature is going to be relatively static, but changing as these pressure systems move through. We're not expecting anything overly crazy, albeit a bit warmer than we've seen for the last couple of months. So right now we're looking at temperatures, again, in the low 20s. We'll be watching it slowly increase as this high pressure system moves in, drags some warmer air with it, and then as that low pressure approaches, even more warm air will make its way into the region. So this is this morning. Headed into Thursday afternoon, again, not a whole lot of change and incredibly low wind speeds as well. Things are really calm. We might drop into the 15 to 30 mile per hour range by the end of the day. We've even seen some light and variable wind speeds over the course of this shift. So that's not totally out of the range of possibility. As we step into the evening hours headed into Wednesday, again, the high pressure is now in the region, dragging in some of that warm air, but you could also see here comes the beginning of that low, pushing a lot of warm air in from the southwest that will slowly be increasing our temperatures into Wednesday morning. So by this point, we're expecting temperatures somewhere around 30 degrees and making a run for the freezing mark with all of this warm air coming in. The central low is pushing in here over the Great Lakes, and I don't know how well you guys can see, but I will highlight here. There is this region of elevated wind speeds. Here's this jet maximum that is rotating around the center of the low pressure. So while it's elevated wind speeds at 850 millibars, upwards of 50 knots or higher, I would expect things to be a little lower. However, still elevated wind speeds for the surface level for the Great Lakes region. So be on the lookout for that. And then as we step into Wednesday afternoon, headed into the evening, now we're starting to see a lot of the warmer temperatures are pushing into the region through New York and Pennsylvania and starting to make their way into New England proper by Thursday morning. Now we're starting to see not only increased temperatures, but elevated wind speeds up here at summit level. So we'll be looking at that in just a moment. But the center of the low has now gone through its occlusion and is starting to split, and it's pushing these elevated wind speeds up into our region all the way into Thursday afternoon. We're up here, we might see 50 to 70, maybe gusts up to 80 or 90 miles per hour once the main part of that system moves through. So we're expecting a calm couple of days here, so some sunshine, some clear skies, and some light winds until Thursday when that low pressure finally makes its way in, and then we start to see some more unsettling conditions. So let's talk about wind. And while you guys are up here with Becca, she brought up Windy, and that's an incredible source that I hadn't even thought of using, so we're going to use it as well. This is a great source for looking at different layers of the atmosphere like pressure and wind in a way that is graphically showing here how you can see how wind is rotating and moving through the air around pressure systems. And we're also looking at elevated wind speeds at our level as well. So we're going to go ahead and step through this so you guys can see what's going on for the next 48 hours. So here's the low that moved through yesterday. So this is the low that brought all of our elevated wind speeds and snow. We're going to step forward a couple hours here, and you can see it slowly starts to make its way off to the east. High pressure to the north and south is now starting to dominate the region, so the intense purples and reds that we were seeing from the previous low have now gone down to blues and greens again. We are expecting our wind speeds to drop way off. They were already pretty far down. We might even see some light and variable conditions once we're really underneath the center of this high. Doesn't last terribly long, however, so now we're moving into tomorrow morning. Here comes the low pressure that's moving its way into the mid-Atlantic and the Great Lakes. You can see plenty of rotation around this system and elevated wind speeds at the 850 millibar level, making its way through the Ohio River Valley before it comes into our neck of the woods. So now we're stepping into Wednesday night into Thursday morning. The low builds and starts to occlude, and just in a moment you're going to see that split in the occlusion, and you're going to see how the wind field moves into our neck of the woods and starts to ramp up our wind speed. So go ahead, here comes the split. And now we're looking into Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. Right here where we're at in New Hampshire, so now at 850 millibars, this is where we're expecting to see the 50 to 70, maybe gusts up to 90, maybe even the century mark according to the model run for windy here. So much more elevated wind speeds compared to what we're going to experience, at least for the initial 24 hours here. So again, really calm, stable, and clear conditions for New England when this high pressure moves through overnight tonight into tomorrow. However, we'll be watching for increasing cloud cover and increasing wind speeds as the low moving in from the mid-Atlantic finally takes over the Northeast and starts to have a much more prominent effect in our neck of the woods, possibly some snow showers up here on the summit and definitely more fog. So winter is not over just yet. All right, a couple of things I want to show you guys real quick before we get to some questions here, so allow me to swap the camera over. So if you guys are looking for more information, you can head to mountwashington.org/classroom. This is the page that we've been using for this program since its beginning. Has changed a little bit though, so you can go on and you can still see our schedule. So we still meet Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 11:15. Scroll down a little bit further and you'll see the topics that are upcoming. And so we have finished this week. If you didn't join us yesterday, we had our discussion on precipitation, where we talked about, what is precipitation, all of its different types, and how it's observed. You can go back and get the worksheet for that there. And also check out the activity, which I'll mention here in just a second. But if you're looking forward to next month, again, we've officially reached the end of these talks of weather parameters. So we talked about temperature and wind and pressure and precipitation. Now we're going to be introducing a new topic, which is pretty appropriate for this time of year, as far as thunderstorms. So when Tom is up here for next week, his deep dive discussion will look at thunderstorms and what they are and how they form. Then we're going to take a look at some lightning and lightning safety, and then some different types of thunderstorms like squalls and supercells and derechos. And then finally, at the end of the month, we'll end with one of my personal favorite topics, tornadoes. And so it's going to be a very exciting month for content, lots of really great pictures and information to share. So make sure you guys tune in for those on Monday. Also, you guys can go back and check out previous broadcasts. So you can go on here, and in case you've missed any over the last week, you can watch the videos right here on the page. And a little bit further down from that, we have all of our previous broadcasts as well as our worksheets too. So if you're a little bit behind, that's okay. You can still access this information and get caught up just fine. So make sure you check out mountwashington.org and make use of all the really great tools and tools and information that are here at your disposal. And then lastly, I want to talk about this week's activity because I do think it's really important, especially for this time of year. So there is a volunteer organization called COCOROS, which is the Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network. I can't really talk today. I apologize, guys. But this is a volunteer organization that is fantastic for educational purposes, revolved around measuring and observing precipitation, and it's open to all ages. So you could be a kid, you could be an adult, you could be a senior. It doesn't really matter what age you are, but they will give you tools and instruments and instruct you on how to record rain and snow and other types of precipitation, and you will become your own observation point. So as you collect and submit this data, people can go and click on the map of the United States and select whatever part of the country they're in. So I'll go ahead and select New Hampshire here. And all of these dots that you're seeing on the screen are different people taking observations of rain and snow from where they are and submitting it to this page. So this is a really great resource for understanding and recording precipitation, and it's a great educational opportunity for students and for anyone who's interested in learning how to record and measure precipitation. So I highly recommend that you guys check this out. Really great resource, and it is the activity for this week. All right, so let's go ahead and bring it back inside the weather room, and I am fortunate enough to have Jay on days with me now. So Jay's been kind of watching for questions in chat, so we'll try to get to as many as we can here in a couple of minutes. So Jay, what do you got for me?
Yeah, so we have a couple of questions regarding fronts and changes of weather in a 24-hour period. So Helen, Rebecca, and Julia would like to know what the biggest change of weather in a 24-hour period is, and exactly how, what is the most drastic change as a front comes through?
Yeah, so it's difficult to answer because weather is so dynamic and it can change so rapidly. Sometimes it can change on the order of a day. Sometimes it can change as fast as 30 minutes from people's perspective. It really depends on what is moving through from your neck of the woods and what type of weather change you're witnessing. I would say cold fronts are probably the most drastic ones that you're going to see because of how fast they move. But you could go from a clear blue sky day to severe afternoon thunderstorms like that. And like I said, a 30-minute or even an hour period, depending on where you're at. So it's difficult to answer in that sense. What is the biggest change of weather you can see? Because weather is so dynamic. It really just depends. But I know I've seen days where it's like calm and blue sky and sunny, and then we have tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings in the afternoon. So again, it really just depends. And then again, cold fronts are probably going to be the most severe because of how quick they move and how fast they force air up through the atmosphere and the instability that they create within that system. So when you have cold fronts moving through, and this is something we'll talk about a lot in one of our deep dives with thunderstorms, that's when you're going to see some more impressive thunderstorm, heavy rain events, lightning, all of that good stuff. So yeah, great question. What else we got?
Another double question from Ben and Beth. What is the highest temperature record in the winter? And second part, what is the warmest temp ever recorded at Mount Washington?
All right, so I actually don't know the answer off the top of my head to the first question. That's something that we can definitely look up and then message you guys as far as what is the warmest temperature that we've ever recorded during our winter season. And again, our winter season runs from the middle of October all the way through the middle of May, so that's a pretty long period of time. But we'll go through and see if we can find that information and get it to you as soon as possible. As far as the warmest it's ever been on Mount Washington, the warmest it's ever been was 72 degrees. So that's t-shirt weather and shorts. That's just like walking around in a calm day outside. And believe it or not, from our perspective, we get used to being cold up here. So when it does get up into the 70s here on the summit, it's like sweltering heat to us. We're very much not used to having warm temperatures like that this high into the atmosphere. And there have been a couple of times in recent years where we've come close to breaking that record. At least in the last 2 summers, we've hit 71 degrees. And so that's only 1 degree shy of the maximum record. So we keep coming close, but 72 is the highest it's ever been up here.
Cole would like to know how often we get avalanches.
That's a fantastic question, and the answer is I don't know. But there are other great resources that you guys can utilize, like the Mount Washington Avalanche Center. They put out regular great information about the avalanche potential they're witnessing or any recorded or reported avalanches that come their way. The fact of the matter is, up here from where we're at, it's very difficult for us to see avalanches. So if they're directly out the front to our north, we don't actually see the avalanche itself, but sometimes we see the snow plume coming up from below from all the snow that's kind of exploding upwards as it crashes down. But other than that, it's very difficult for us to see any avalanches, and usually somebody has to tell us that one occurred, and then we have a series of webcams where we can try to go through and see if we spotted it or not. But from up here, from this perspective, it's really hard to see. So yeah, you guys have great questions today. Nice. What else is up?
Reed would like to know if we have seen lightning hit the summit. And I bet you can even do one better on that one.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really fascinating, and this is actually a really good last question because we're just about out of time here. But lightning up here is fascinating, and from our perspective, we are inside of the cloud where lightning comes from. So imagine, when you guys witness and experience lightning at home, you usually see a flash, and then there's a couple of seconds and a really loud bang. Up here, because we are inside of the cloud where the lightning is coming from, it is all instantaneous. And I can tell you, I've seen it a few times myself, it is like a blinding purple-white light, and then it sounds like somebody's smashing a metal garbage can with a baseball bat right next to your head. It's incredible. It's so loud and very startling. But we're in the building. We're completely safe. The whole building is grounded, so there's no way we would be in danger. But it's really kind of impressive and a little scary to witness. But whenever we do have thunderstorms that are strong enough to make it up and over the summit, we sit here in the weather room, we turn all the lights off, and we sit in front of our big windows and watch the lightning flashes, which is really cool. And sometimes, if we open up one of the windows, because there's so many metal structures up here that act like lightning rods and conductors, whenever there's about to be a direct strike to the summit, you can hear a humming sound, which is a little unsettling, and then a very loud crash and a blinding purple-white light. So yeah, witnessing lightning and thunderstorms up here is really fascinating, and again, when we talk about in the coming weeks here all the different types of storms and severe weather you can see, we will make sure to bring this up again, and I'm sure we have photos and videos that we can show you of lightning strikes here at the top of Mount Washington that are really fascinating to check out. So thank you guys so much. We are out of time for questions today. If you have any other questions, or if I didn't get to any of them, I'll go back and answer them in the chat. You could always send us a direct message here or on Twitter or on Instagram. We'll try to answer as many questions as we got this morning as we can. And this is my last broadcast with you guys for a week. So Tom will be up here starting on Thursday. He'll have another forecast discussion going into the weekend. And then on Monday, this is when we start to get into our thunderstorms topic. So he'll be introducing thunderstorms and what they are and how they form. So make sure you guys tune into that. So thank you all so much for joining me this morning. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the forecast, and I'll see you guys next time.